I grew up in Cairns, and in those days it was very much an isolated town. Yeah, we had horses, there was horses around and kids owned them, we shared them, you know, a few strays. Other people like lent them to us, that type of thing. But I mean, we never had saddles or anything like that. You just rode them bareback. Used to ride them through the cane fields. Sometimes never even had a decent bridle, but it was good fun. The interest in racing probably come from the fact that my eldest brother Brian took out a trainer's licence in Cairns, and we all chipped in and gave a hand. After I left boarding school, I worked in the ANZ Bank as a teller. I was a very bad one. So I then got a job in the public service. But all that time I used to give my brother Lawrence a hand, who was also a trainer. I used to give him a hand of a morning before I went to work, and then I'd strap for him at the old Albion Park of a afternoon, and then Brian offered me a foreman's job. Yeah, it just went from there. I've always had the attitude that you never know everything. There's always something to learn. I was helping my brother, as I said, in Brisbane, and you know, he'd have between 10 and 15 horses, and then suddenly I've gone into a place that's got 60, 70 horses. I went out on my own and decided to go to Newcastle, which I thought was close, and it was a good family sort of environment. It was something that I'd wanted to do from when I was a young boy. And it was scary because I had a young family and I was on a very good income where I was. I got my trainer's licence in '91. It was really tough. Couldn't get any horses. I had 2 at one stage and things weren't going that great. And then along came Angst. She always showed something from the start. She was an amazing horse. She's really intelligent, very gentle, and possessed a lot of ability. I actually took her to Wellington for the boot, and the gate never opened, and she had to push through the gate, and she ran second. And then after that, she won the next 5 starts straight. In that period where she won the 5 races straight, she won a series called the Princess Series. She was the first to win it. One day I was going to the track and she was making a little bit of a noise, and they scoped her and she had polyps on her larynx. And they operated on her, and unfortunately the infection had got into what they call the laryngeal muscle, and it weakened it and it split during the night. She suffocated and died. You know, I look back on it and I think it wasn't really appreciated as much as it should have been. And I mean in that, like, if you were a young trainer first starting out, you'd just be on cloud 9 and you'd be just orbiting the earth, as it were. The periods where you go where you're not getting winners, it's very tough. I mean, it's tough on your family, it's tough financially, and it's tough on your character as well. You know, sometimes you question, are you doing something wrong or whatever? But you've just got to push on. It's not all the glamour and it's not all winners. It's a lot of hard work. They're very lonely drives home from the races, let me tell you, when you're not winning.
I'm so rusty.
The horses kept you going, being with them, getting up of a morning, doing the track work and so on. That sort of keep pushing you through, and then the hope that one would sort of step up to the mark. Yeah, well, we were doing it very tough. Our numbers dropped really badly. At the same time, we had that economic downturn, so people weren't really wanting to go into horses. So we're down to about 9 horses, and then famous Seamus come along, and I mean, he's carried us now for a number of seasons. You know, he's probably got us through. And they're just not horses. You owe them such a debt, they can do those sorts of things for you. They're an important part of our family. You know, they have a job to do and it has to be done. But I also make sure that they're well looked after and their interests are protected. My wife nicknames them, and my daughter knows a lot of them and gets excited when they race. So in that regard, they're part of the family and we look after them as such. I do consider myself lucky and I do love what I'm doing. But on a cold winter's morning, it still doesn't stop me from questioning why am I doing this. But no, I love what I'm doing, and that's why I do it, and I'll do it till they, as I always say, they carry me out in a pine box. But if I'm not going well, it could be a paper one.